and the water beginning to fill. In some of our smaller basins, water can rise rapidly. Once again, this is no place to be during a flash flood. This model shows exactly why. Not only does the water rise rapidly, there's also a current and sometimes a wave visible through these basins. And just think of how much water that could be. Some of our basins are miles long. When it comes to the flood control system, there's no question too small. This year, we unveiled a new video for our school outreach program to provide answers to those young inquiring minds.
How many of you guys have ever heard it rain while you were in your classroom?
Each year, the district reaches more than 10,000 elementary school students with flash flood safety information. We recently worked with students at UNLV to update the video we show in schools. Feel like going back to school for a few minutes? Here's a look at our new presentation.
Yes, it is a desert out there. Sure, it hardly rains, but a few raindrops like me landing in our desert can quickly turn into a raging flood. Cars can float away, people can get hurt, plus homes and buildings can be destroyed. Our sky is usually sunny and clear. Rainstorms don't happen often in our dry climate. When rain does fall, though, it only takes less than 1 inch of rain to cause a flash flood. Here's why. We have a lot of hard crust in our soil called caliche. Some call it desert concrete. It forms just under the ground and it can't absorb water, so the water runs right off the ground into the streets or through washes, natural channels formed by running water. When rain falls on the west side of the Las Vegas Valley near Red Rock, it runs to the east side near Boulder Highway. It's a big downhill slope. To look at it another way, the Las Vegas Valley is like a giant bowl tipped on its side. The rainwater doesn't soak into the ground. Instead, it just slides right down the bowl from one side to the other. It's important to know how to stay safe when a flood occurs in the desert. To help you remember the dangers of floodwater, let's learn the 3 Ds of flash flood safety so you know how to stay safe from floods. The first D of flash flood safety you need to know is floodwater and flash floods are dangerous. Floodwater is fast and powerful. It can move extremely quickly and it can knock you off your feet. Floodwater will flow through the streets down into drainage pipes called storm drains and into flood channels. These are pathways that direct water away from your school, your neighborhood, and your home. The water travels inside these channels until they reach a detention basin. Think of these as really big bathtubs. These basins can be as big as 170 football fields in length and 55 feet deep. The detention basins take in huge amounts of flood water and release the water back into channels and underground storm drains at a much slower pace so it can travel safely through the valley into Lake Mead. Channels and detention basins are no place to play. They are dangerous. The water moves so fast it can sweep you under where you could drown. Don't ever go into flood channels and don't get in detention basins either. Remember, it's dangerous. Keep your friends, your family, and even your pets away from these areas at all times. Even without water in them, they are still very dangerous because water can rush in even if it's not raining where you are. The second D of flash flood safety is dirty. Floodwater is absolutely filthy. Floodwaters are filled with junk like oil, chemicals, and pet waste. It washes off yards down streets and into storm drains and detention basins. It's a dirty and dangerous place, one where you should never swim and play. The deep channels hide trash like nails, broken glass, and construction debris. It's so dirty that you can't see what may be under the water. Not only can this filthy water hurt you, but it can also harm our environment. Water from washing your car at home, sprinklers, and rainstorms flows to Lake Mead, where we get most of our drinking water. Pollutants like trash and chemicals in the water can hurt plants and wildlife like fish and birds. Everyone, including you, can help protect the land we live on, the water we drink, and the air we breathe. If you see someone littering or dumping trash in the desert or into storm drains, tell your parents. They can call the Regional Flood Control District at 702-685-0000. Remember, floodwater is dirty, but it is our job to pollute less. We all need to protect the environment, not only for today, but for future generations. The last D of flash flood safety you need to remember is don't drive. So, you know playing in floodwater is dangerous, but what about driving in it? You are not safe there either. You never, just not smart. Your parents can also get a ticket for driving through a flooded street. You need to make sure your parents don't put themselves, you, or the firemen trying to rescue you in danger. If a street is flooded, turn around, don't drown. When it rains, be alert. There are many signs that'll tell you rain may be coming. Lightning and thunderstorms in the valley can be beautiful, but make sure you're inside to enjoy them. Listen to radio or TV. You can learn if there's a flash flood watch or a flash flood warning. A flash flood watch means it's raining heavily and a flood could happen soon. Tell an adult if you know there's a flash flood watch and stay out of the rain. A flash flood warning means a flash flood is happening right now. Tell an adult and get to high ground right away. Storms in southern Nevada happen fast. The water will go away fast. Just stay inside and wait until the water is off the streets. You can also check out the Regional Flood Control website. There you'll find out how much rain is falling around the valley. If a lot of rain is falling, stay inside and away from the water. Flash flood season starts July through September, but floods in southern Nevada can happen anytime and anywhere. So remember, be prepared, be alert, and make smart decisions so that you can stay dry and stay alive.
Oh my God, this car's gonna hit us. Oh my God! Oh, we're floating! We're floating! We're floating! Oh my God!
Mind the road. Flash flood season is here.
We have all seen the devastation that floods can cause to homes and lives in Clark County. Has your neighborhood or home ever been affected by major storms? Federal flood insurance is a smart and cost-effective investment if you think your home is vulnerable. Some easy-to-understand assessments can help determine if you need flood insurance. Call your insurance agent or call 1-888-CALL-FLOOD or visit the Regional Flood Control District's website for guidance. See if flood insurance makes sense for you.
Yep. Look, it's floating.
Public outreach is an important part of the Flood Control District's mission. But when it comes to keeping floods away from people, our construction program has to reach all parts of the county. Let's take a look at this new project in Searchlight. Some of the district's projects are massive, like the $23.5 million Pittman North Detention Basin. Others are a lot smaller in scope, but are still priceless for residents in the outlying areas. Work is finishing up on a $2 million storm drain project under Encinita Street in Searchlight, Nevada. This project started a year ago and including installing 2,800 linear feet of reinforced concrete pipe. It was a big deal for this town an hour's drive south of Las Vegas. Randall Hastings lives on Encinitas in a home whose occupants have watched the flooding since the 1960s.
Since the street kind of slopes up right here, a lot of the water comes down right through this area here, and during the monsoon season it gets pretty heavy in the rainfall.
The county managed this project, and the Regional Flood Control District provided more than $2 million in funding for the new storm drain. Crews held frequent meetings during construction to make sure everyone was on task.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes they can get a little scary. The water, like I said, during the monsoon season, it really rains hard here, and it comes quick, and it floods real fast. And then being on this embank right here, it kind of just comes down real quick.
The project connected Encinita Street to existing facilities at the south end of the city. Now, water will move underground and take away the big problem for residents.
It's kind of dangerous for the kids. Usually when it rains like that, we'll keep them inside. We don't let them go running around the park or nothing because, You know, I mean, it's not waist high or anything, but it's still dangerous. I mean, even if the water just knocks him down, or, you know, it don't really have to be that deep to do that. So I think having that drain will help deal with the water situation.
The Searchlight project was built by Wadley Construction. The road is now paved and the pipes are underground, ready to carry water away from Hastings' home in a safe way. Here in the park, it's easy to remember why we have to keep our environment clean. So make sure you do your part and put litter where it belongs. For more information about the Flood Control District, go to BeFloodSafe.com or follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
When there's snow, Mount Charleston gets thousands of visitors.
Traffic can block the highway, snowplows can't get through, people play too close to the roads, and emergency vehicles can't get through. It becomes a public safety hazard.
To make the most of your visit, plan ahead. Visit GoMountCharleston.com for news and information, or call 511 to make sure the highway is clear. Go to Lee Canyon for skiing and snow play. Dress warmly, don't sled near roads or trees, and don't leave any litter behind. Help keep our winter wonderland safe and clean for everyone to enjoy.
Clark County is a county located in the very southern tip of Nevada. It's about 8,000 square miles, population of about 2.2 million. The 400 square miles we cover here in the Las Vegas Valley, including the Las Vegas Strip, which is in Clark County, is our busiest part of that response area.
At any given time, we have upwards of 300,000 visitors from all across the world here in Las Vegas on the beautiful Las Vegas Strip.
The influx of visitors on a weekly, monthly basis is really a game changer for us in law enforcement. The way the city changes each weekend, each special event, that presents a whole new set of challenges.
Clark County, we try to hold ourselves up as an example. And instead of just doing business as usual, we as a team are really looking for, some achievable solutions to some of these age-old questions.
As we were coming out of the recession, still stuck in some of our recession funding years, our call volume was very, very high. We had many of our vehicles at more than 5,000 calls a year, and that's just an unacceptable number.
We were sending these big, expensive rigs with 4 personnel to calls that were, in a lot of cases, not really warranting that robust a response.
So with staff, our medical director, and our district attorney, we got together, we pulled several years of stats on medical calls, and we looked at what calls percentage-wise turned out to be actually critical calls. So we started to massage a new plan that came out to be called the X model, and we massaged it to where we were able to send the right resource to the right calls, and on those non-emergent calls, we stopped sending fire department assets to those calls, and we let the private ambulances handle that. We also looked at handling of intoxicated individuals on the Las Vegas Strip. That's a big number for us. So all those things combined, we knocked about 30,000 calls off of our units in a 1-year period.
If you get down to the root cause of some of these challenges, they're very solvable if you just do a little homework.
Las Vegas presents a lot of challenges, a lot of unique opportunities. We have to be in front of possible threats, and Las Vegas has the potential for all different types of threats that we have to be aware of. So partnerships is important to us, being proactive is important to us, really in helping protect and serve the citizens of this community.
The relationship of the Clark County Fire Department with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the other Valley Fire Departments, the other Valley Police Departments, and the FBI is amazing. We have trained together, we have built response programs and plans that are now used nationwide. Last year we suffered an unthinkable tragedy on October 1st of 2017 when we had the 58 people gunned down on the Las Vegas Strip attending an outdoor concert. Everything that we did for the years, like 6-7 years prior to that night, training, ICS command and control training, getting our guys and gals from both police and fire to match up and go to work together. On that night, we had 19 integrated police and fire rescue task forces in operation that night.
October 1st is a great example of collaboration. Our partnership with the city, with Chief Castle, was evident right away. We have to all be in sync, obviously, so communication in that was huge. We all partnered at the incident command structure for really kind of joint operations to figure out what the long-term response is, what the short-term response is.
It's one thing to say that you have great relationships, certainly one thing to say it when you have it at the top, but the reality of it is that you have to truly exercise that down to the level of the men and women that are doing the work on the police and the fire side. It takes bold leadership on both sides, the police and the fire department, to get us to where it is that we found ourselves on 1 October.
We are big proponents of task forces. The FBI puts together lots of task forces where different agencies come together to work particular threats. We have terrorism task forces, violent crime task forces. This is where we all sit together, work together on a side-by-side basis to really target whatever that particular threat is.
This is about getting better. And when you have really honest conversation between police and firefighters at the line level about things that could have gone better, it prepared us to do exactly what it is that we did on 1 October.
What we're really excited about is we have such a great young core of men and women in this organization, and they're going to carry this torch going forward of the pride, professionalism, and dedication that this department provides day in and day out to our residents, to our visitors, to our police officers and our law enforcement counterparts at the federal level. We've got a great group, a great plan going forward to keep at the level that we're at.
You never know when you can't really see coming. And sometimes you just can't avoid the old. Life is full of surprises. So when life pulls up, get to UMC Quick Care. For life's bumps and breaks, sneezes and wheezes, one of our Valley locations is ready and waiting to save the day. So you can get in, get out, get better, quick. UMC Quick Care.
Thanks for watching Clark County Television.
It's sweater weather. Cover your pipes and plants to prevent freeze damage this winter. A Southern Nevada Water Authority water treatment facility earns accolades for going above and beyond to ensure your water quality. And get off your grass and earn some cash with a WaterSmart Landscapes rebate. Learn all the ways to save here on Waterways. The SNWA Board authorized General Manager John Ensminger to execute 3 agreements concerning a new federal drought contingency plan. The Lower Basin Plan provides Arizona, California, and Nevada with the tools to voluntarily reduce water demands and minimize risks associated with a decline in Lake Mead water levels. The Upper Basin Plan protects critical elevations in Lake Powell and ensures compliance with the 1922 Colorado River Compact. Under the proposed Lower Basin Plan, Nevada, Arizona, and California would make a series of voluntary water contributions to keep water in Lake Mead. The amount of voluntary contribution by each state is based on Lake Mead's elevation. The plan will allow the lower basin states to recover some of their voluntary contributions as Lake Mead's elevation recovers. Even with these voluntary contributions and mandatory shortage reductions, Southern Nevada has sufficient water resources to meet our community's water needs. However, continued conservation is critical to maintaining our current and future water resources. The Water Authority reached a milestone on the construction of its low lake level pumping station. In December, workers flooded the forebay, located more than 500 feet underground. It's now linked with intake number 3. Crews will soon install 32 submersible pumps in the forebay to pump water to SNWA's 2 water treatment facilities. The high-volume pumping station, combined with intake number 3, will ensure access to Southern Nevada's primary drinking water supply, even as lake levels decline. The low lake level pumping station is scheduled for completion in 2020. Everyone needs water. That's why it's so important to the Southern Nevada Water Authority to treat drinking water to the highest standards and deliver it safely to your homes. We're able to provide the highest quality water through our state-of-the-art and award-winning water treatment plants.
Our River Mountains facility truly is one of the best in the world. It goes far beyond standards for the Safe Drinking Water Act. We're very proud to be part of this facility.
The River Mountains Water Treatment Facility recently received the highly coveted Partnership for Safe Water's Excellence in Water Treatment Award from the American Water Works Association. Less than 20 water utilities have received the award, and when you consider there are more than 50,000 community water systems in the U.S., it's quite a recognition.
The partnership was conceived to recognize facilities going above the call of duty. It recognizes things like not being complacent in how we do business, but always trying to strive for something better. It looks at efficiency, and we've done well on all those categories: efficiency, maintenance, employee training. So we've gone above the call of duty and continue to press on. So it's a recognition of those efforts.
The rigorous award process measures the extent to which utilities optimize both water quality and efficiency of their facilities, as well as efforts to go above and beyond the regulations, ensuring continuous improvement to drinking water quality. With River Mountains, an expert panel analyzed hundreds of pages of technical data and detailed narratives describing the treatment plant's operations and capabilities. Kevin, what were some of the items the experts were looking for in distributing this award?
Well, they really examined our filter process, which is the heartbeat of a treatment plant. So they looked at our daily records, and they really drilled in to say how we were operating the plant, how we're doing backwashes on the filters and taking good care of them. They looked at our maintenance practices and were we taking good care of our facilities. They were looking at how we're training employees and making sure that they could work on that specific equipment at our plant. They also looked at our overall water quality and were we always pressing forward, trying to make it better, just not meeting the rules, but actually had well-defined goals that allowed us to push forward and actually improve water quality coming out of the plant.
The exclusive award is an honor for SNWA, which is responsible for providing a safe supply of drinking water to more than 2.2 million residents in southern Nevada. The SNWA's two water treatment facilities, River Mountains and Alfred Merritt Smith, use cutting-edge technology to ensure that the community's water is treated and tested to the utmost standards. Ensuring high-quality drinking water requires the SNWA to coordinate with state and federal agencies and maintain compliance with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Safe Drinking Water Act. We monitor water quality in real time, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. At the SNWA's Water Quality Laboratory, an average of 400,000 water analyses are completed each year. Our lab is one of the most sophisticated in the world. It uses the latest technology to ensure that your water meets or surpasses federal standards. Beyond testing, water treatment processes are state-of-the-art. The Water Authority treats water with ozone, a powerful disinfectant that kills potentially harmful microscopic organisms that may be present. A multi-stage filtration process follows that. Then as water leaves the water treatment facilities, chlorine is again added to protect it on the way to your tap. Our research and development scientists find new ways to further improve the quality of our drinking water. The SNWA has one of the nation's top municipal R&D complexes and is one of the few that combines research and water quality testing under the same roof. The R&D conducted by SNWA has contributed to increased knowledge in the fields of water science and water treatment. Through R&D, SNWA has developed treatment techniques to address emerging water quality issues such as pharmaceuticals and personal care products.
Well, having all of our groups in one spot, they can support each other. If we have a treatment problem, our research group can come in and help. There's several PhDs that can help us solve technical problems. Also with our water quality group and our testing group, they can work with our operations group in making sure that the testing is accurate, timely, and very fast. We also have our maintenance group that installs instrumentation. It can be validated with our laboratory. What's really interesting is that our group really makes excellence a habit. Anybody can rise to the occasion for a few minutes of the day or a few days of the month, but really the partnership is pushing us to have excellence just all the time, and it's a way of measuring it. So we're really excited about this award.
Winter watering restrictions are in effect through February, limiting landscape watering to 1 day a week. If you're unsure what day you're assigned to water, visit snwa.com and click on Find Your Watering Group and Provider. Running your sprinkler system outside your assigned day is water waste and may result in a water waste fee or citation.
Whether it's residential, commercial, a city or county park, you could receive a violation or fee for watering outside your restricted day. Also, you could receive a violation or fee for spray and flow runoff, such as water flowing over a sidewalk or into a gutter from your property. You can also receive a citation or fee if you have an on-site leak, such as a broken emitter, broken sprinkler head, and those would be flagged and the customer would be notified of those irrigation issues.
In 2018, SNWA member agencies conducted approximately 8,000 water waste investigations throughout the valley and issued more than 400 fines. If you see water waste, report it immediately to your water provider and ensure you're adhering to mandatory watering restrictions to avoid a water waste fee. If you need help remembering to change your irrigation clock each season, sign up for our text reminders. It's certainly not the North Pole, but Las Vegas does experience its fair share of frigid temperatures, which means your landscape is vulnerable to cold snaps and freezes. Before you hunker down for winter, help your plants and irrigation take cover to ensure a healthy, vibrant landscape come spring.
Plants actually are very vulnerable. They're very much like people in the winter. They need that extra protection to keep them healthy. And then we also want to think about our irrigation system and be sure that we cover the irrigation system and keep that healthy in the winter too, so that we protect it from freezing.
Master gardener Denise McConnell has a knack for caring for desert plants. Her green thumb experience and tips can help your plants survive the extremes of the desert, from sweltering triple digits in the summer to the occasional freezes in winter. Like people, plants prefer layers to keep warm in the wintertime, so add more mulch to the plants in your landscape. Mulch is a top dressing that covers the soil and protects plant roots from freezing. It also helps to conserve moisture, so you don't have to water as often.
For those cold-sensitive plants, you're going to want to add a layer of mulch as an extra protection. You're going to want to put about 6 inches of mulch around the base of the plant, especially important on plants like this bougainvillea that's a subtropical plant. And I've had this one here about 6 years and it's still going strong.
Potted plants appreciate warmth too. Move your most cold-sensitive plants to a side of the house that gets more afternoon sun, but beware they could still freeze. A better option, if you have it, is to move your potted plants to a covered patio where they will be better protected. Cover plants in the ground with frost blankets or burlap.
Some plants are hardier than others and can take the cold. What should we know about plants' tolerance in changing desert conditions?
Their hardiness depends upon where they actually come from. So the desert-adapted plants will be the ones that will be hardy to this area. Other ones, subtropicals like bougainvillea, would have to take more protection. But the other ones can take it until it gets down into the low 30s, and then you may want to cover them. And you can use materials like burlap or a sheet and just cover them for the night and then take it off the next morning.
If you notice frost or a freeze has damaged a plant, leave it alone until warmer weather arrives. New growth may still appear. Pruning or transplanting a damaged plant during winter months can hurt or even kill it.
Now that you've prepared your plants to go a few rounds with Old Man Winter, you'll want to protect your irrigation system, the lifeline of your landscape.
So we want to protect all of our irrigation lines and be sure that we don't have those above the ground. We want to protect our hose bibs and the hoses themselves to keep them from breaking, and as well the backflow preventer. That's a quite expensive repair if you have to repair it if it should freeze. So we want to give that the adequate protection that it needs.
Walk through your landscape and inspect your irrigation lines. Bury any exposed drip lines or cover them with a few inches of mulch. This will help to insulate them against water that could freeze inside and burst the lines. Disconnect and drain garden hoses you don't regularly use in winter. Further protect the faucet with a cover or wrap it with an old cloth and duct tape. Next, cover your backflow prevention device.
Denise, why is wrapping or protecting the backflow so important?
So the backflow preventer actually can freeze. And if that freezes and breaks, it's a very expensive repair. And this backflow preventer is what keeps the irrigation water from going back into the water supply. So it's very important to give it that winter protection. And there's a number of ways that we can protect it. Probably one of the easiest is to just purchase this sleeve that goes right over the top of it. There's also like a synthetic rock that you put over the top of this. That's a good protection. And then the other thing is that you can use this foam tubing. And this one here is especially made for this. It has tape on the inside here so that when you put it around there, you pull the tape off and it can close. And this is a great insulator. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually wrap it. So I like to cut a little piece off first, just for this little area here where they come together, just to hold them together when I'm working with it. And then you just start wrapping this tape around it. And this holds that foam in place and just makes it a little more firm. And it goes pretty quickly once you get the hang of it. I'm only going to wrap right up to these valves here. And you can see these valves here. These need to be kept out of the wrapping, because if you have to turn the water off to the irrigation, this is where you would do it. There's also a bleed valve here on the bottom, and you don't want that wrapped either. So you don't put the foam wrapping over it, and you don't put the tape over it. But here I have the foam wrapping that goes right up to the big bell part here, and it's important that that is wrapped with the foam all the way up to the big bell. And that's all there is to it.
Finally, locate your water shutoff valve and learn to turn off water at the source. Doing this will save you from major damage caused by leaks or burst lines. For more winter protection tips, visit us at snwa.com.
Late winter is the ideal time to prune your plants and trees. Master Gardener Denise McConnell has tips to help you prune like a pro.
Here we are in the backyard. We've just done this pruning. So this is the time of the year to actually prune your deciduous trees. So those would be, meaning non-evergreen. The sap is not running in the tree at that time. So when we do the pruning, you know, it's right where this swelling is here. See how the bark swells out here? And you do it right up at the edge of that swelling before it narrows any further. And the reason why we make that cut there is so that the bark will keep forming there and eventually will completely close. So here's one here that's about 3 years old. And you can see that that cut, which was that big, has formed a lot of bark around it. And that cut will eventually completely close, and you won't even know that that cut was there. We're going to prune this climbing rose. It'll eventually, you know, get up on the trellis. And so this is the time of the year to do it, no later than Valentine's Day. So what you want to do is you want to look for a place where it's actually going to create a bud that's going to come out and grow up this direction. So I have a place here, it's called a bud scar, and that's where I'm going to prune it. I've sterilized my pruning tool with half bleach and half water, and you want to sterilize it whenever you're cutting roses, moving from one rose bush to the other so that you don't carry disease with you in case something may be infected. You're going to cut about 1/4 of an inch above that bud scar at a 45-degree angle. So I'm just going to take that off just like that, and then I'm going to come back here and take some of these leaves off, and there's little bud scars here where the plant's going to grow in that direction. I don't want it growing out this direction because I've got a pathway here. So now what I do is I take some carpenter's glue, and what I'm going to be doing is actually putting that on the edge where my pruning cut is. And what that's going to do is seal that pruning cut off so that I don't have insects getting down inside of it. So the roses is the only thing that we do this with. So this is lantana, and lantana is very popular in our landscape and does great here. And you can leave it there and have it look like that, but if you want to clean it up and make it be nice, it's okay to do that too. You're not going to hurt the plant at all. So I simply just take a big section of it and go down. This is the ground cover lantana, and I just cut this about 1 inch above the ground. And it goes pretty quickly because you just, you gather up these big sections. And sometimes people think their lantana is dead and then they'll pull them out, but you don't want to do that. Like with the bougainvillea, you just wait till spring and see where the new growth is coming out and cut back to that. So we made really short work of that, and look at how nice that looks now.
It may be sweater weather, but it's not too early to plan for a water-smart landscape. In fact, now's the perfect time to enroll in the SNWA's Water Smart Landscapes rebate program. By spring, you'll have a yard that not only conserves water in a big way, but looks uniquely your own.
We come out and we literally look at our yard and we enjoy it tremendously.
Yeah, it's actually, we can't believe it's our yard.
Yep. From the kitchen window, when I look outside, it's beautiful. From every angle, it looks clean, it looks organized.
And when you look at
awesome.
what grass we have left, this is only a third. Like, we took out 2/3 of our grass.
Adrian Ridgely and Mike Graves were finally ready to ditch their grass when the SNWA increased its Water Smart Landscapes rebate from $2 a square foot to $3 a square foot. Their backyard lawn was using too much water and didn't represent the couple's artistic lifestyle.
Adrian and Mike, tell me a little bit about what made you decide to convert a portion of your yard to desert landscaping.
So I guess the first reason was that a lot of our grass actually didn't look good. There were patches of it that were just like crabgrass, and it never thrived. And so that was one of the main reasons. The other one would be definitely to cut down on the water.
Sure. And when you started the process, did you have some goals in mind of what you wanted to achieve with the conversion?
I wanted to keep as green as possible, obviously. And we eliminated one tree. Some of them kind of popped on its own, volunteers, what we call them. So I wanted to have more modern look, clean, less maintenance for sure, and obviously water preservation.
The couple designed the concept for their backyard conversion and hired a landscaper to remove more than 1,500 square feet of grass. They planted a variety of colorful, desert-hardy plants like lantana, Texas Ranger, privet, and juniper. Low water use drip emitters replaced water-intensive sprinkler heads, and decorative rock mulch surrounds their small patch of grass kept for their dog, Princess. Adrian and Mike added the final touches, landscape lighting and pieces of art to complete their home's outdoor retreat. The SNWA's Water Smart Landscapes rebate program walked them through the entire process.
After the application process, they came out and measured, and that was pretty simple. The guy was in here maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and he made a little map. Then we just did our thing. And then at the end, you call them again, they came out and remeasured, and then you get a nice letter a couple weeks later, tells you what you qualify for, and you sign some paperwork and you get the check. Like I was shocked at how fast and easy the process was. Like, it was painless.
To incentivize residents and businesses to reduce grass in the valley, the SNWA increased the Water Smart Landscapes rebate. Participants can now earn up to $3 for every square foot of turf they convert to Water Smart Landscaping, up to 10,000 square feet per project, and $1.50 for every square foot over that. The maximum incentive for any property in a fiscal year is $500,000.
Johan, tell us, how has the increased rebate helped incentivize Southern Nevadans to step up and participate in the rebate program?
Since the rebate increased back in May from $2 a square foot to $3 a square foot, we've seen a tremendous increase in the number of new applications coming into the program, and it's been very encouraging for us. We know that we still have a lot of work left to do. There's still a lot of turf out left in the community.
As the record drought continues to impact Lake Mead water levels, our community is asked to elevate its conservation efforts.
To boost participation and remind Valley residents and businesses about conservation efforts, the SNWA is increasing its community outreach. Our conservation team recently mailed 20,000 letters to properties with large patches of grass to encourage them to participate in the landscape rebate. The team also is reaching out to people who had previously signed up for the landscape rebate but never completed their projects, and homeowners associations where large sections of non-functional grass area exists.
The SNWA has been doing a lot of outreach with single-family residential, with homeowners associations, with property managers, and with businesses. We know that there is about 5,000 acres of non-functional turf left throughout the valley, and this is turf areas around shopping centers, gas stations. This is turf along roadways and medians. We know that that turf is perfect for the Water Smart Landscapes program. So we try to emphasize that if the only time that someone walks on the turf area is to mow it, that's perfect to be converted to desert landscape.
Replacing water-guzzling grass with a Water Smart landscape could cut your home water use by up to 75%. The SNWA estimates a water-efficient landscape can save homeowners approximately 55 gallons of water per square foot per year. Those savings add up. For an average 1,000 square foot conversion, that's 55,000 gallons of water saved yearly. For Adrian and Mike, the savings is more than 82,000 gallons. Since the inception of the Water Smart Landscapes rebate program, Southern Nevadans have replaced more than 187 million square feet of turf, enough to wrap an 18-inch roll of sod around 95% of the Earth's circumference. The water savings is beyond 119 billion gallons.
Don't wait long to convert your grass to a Water Smart landscape. Apply online at snwa.com and you'll do your part to help Southern Nevada conserve water where it matters most, outdoors.
Before you remove a single blade of grass, you must apply for the Water Smart Landscapes rebate. Enroll online or call the Conservation Helpline for a printed application. Once the completed application is received, the SNWA will schedule a site review visit to evaluate your lawn and conversion areas and answer any questions you may have. You must participate in the pre-conversion site visit before removing your lawn. Then, dig in. You have 1 year to complete your conversion. Finally, cash in and get your rebate check. For more program details, visit us at snwa.com.
This isn't a field, this is useless. Now we can really play.
The Las Vegas Wash is a true success story. Once a natural resource for Native Americans and early settlers, it suffered from erosion and population growth in the late 20th century. In the last 20 years, a community effort to stabilize the wash has paid off.
Community involvement has been a main part of the Las Vegas Wash, the improvements that we've been doing along the Las Vegas Wash.
Today, the Las Vegas Wash is a thriving waterway thanks to partnerships, volunteers, and dedicated work to restore. In the late 20th century, flows within the channel increased significantly, along with southern Nevada's population, causing erosion that drained wetlands and threatened wildlife habitat, water quality, and wastewater infrastructure.
One major issue was an algal bloom in Las Vegas Bay and Lake Mead, which was caused by high nutrient levels which were going through the Las Vegas Wash, as well as sediment from the Las Vegas Wash was entering Lake Mead, really causing water quality problems in the lake. And then third, some of our water supply pipelines were being exposed due to the erosion in the Las Vegas Wash.
In 1998, community stakeholders, including the SNWA, partnered to address water quality issues in the wash and find a way to stabilize this important water resource. The Las Vegas Wash Coordination Committee was formed. The committee mapped out a plan to address tough issues plaguing the wash. Over the past 20 years, the group has worked tirelessly to restore this vital ecological resource. Among its many accomplishments, the Las Vegas Wash Coordination Committee has reestablished the wetlands, increased wildlife habitats, revegetated areas along the wash to stabilize soils, and improved water quality by constructing weirs, dam-like structures that slow the flow of water and control erosion along the bed of the wash.
In 2018, we completed the final weir along the Las Vegas Wash, so now there are 21 weirs which slow down the water, reduce erosion, and help improve water quality. With that, we've revegetated over 500 acres along the Las Vegas Wash, which definitely improve the ecosystem, providing a home for different types of wildlife, and those revegetated acres also help improve the water quality.
Public outreach and community involvement are key components of the Las Vegas Wash's success. The Las Vegas Wash Coordination Committee organizes green up planting events twice a year. Volunteers arm themselves with shovels, dig in, and help plant hundreds of native plants along the wash.
This is our 33rd green up along the Las Vegas Wash, and having that community involvement has been critical to the success of this program. It allows ownership from the community and the stewardship activities that they can do by planting plants and seeing those plants grow and coming back year after year. We know that it is creating a bond between this project and the community members.
There are more ways to save, so join us next time here on Waterways. If you'd like to share your conservation efforts at home, contact us at Waterways, 1001 South Valley View Boulevard, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89153. Or send us an email through our website at snwa.com. We may feature your story. For more how-to videos and tips to conserve and care for our water, connect with us on social media. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time, right here on Waterways.
Thanks for watching Clark County Television.
This is Nevada Health. Today we are with Jeff Spar, and he is a Vice President of Specialty Business Development at Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, so can you explain to us what integrated population health is?
Sure. Integration population health management is really, it's taking a vast variety of data from a number of different resources and effectively aggregating that information all together. Mm-hmm. Applying analytics, looking at that information to gather insights, and then figuring out how to actually use that information to engage, whether that's with a member or a patient, whether that's for a doctor, really anything in the healthcare system that can ultimately impact and improve somebody's overall health, lower the cost of care, mm-hmm. And then improve the experience for everyone. So it's really that aggregation of data and using it in a way to really improve health outcomes.
Mm-hmm. So how is this for the average person who comes in to see a doctor? How do they see this actually play out?
Yeah, so great question. In some ways, they don't see it, mm-hmm. and it happens behind the scenes, and that's actually okay as well. But, you know, a couple of real examples. So at Anthem, one of the things that we do, and I think a lot of times people don't realize the connection. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we're trying to do is put the eyes and the teeth and mental health back into your body and kind of have this holistic view of somebody's overall health. And so we do that by aggregating all of our, all of our products, all of the claims information that comes through those different channels. And so using an example that may or may not be intuitive for vision care as an example, mm-hmm. When somebody goes to see their eye care professional, it's the only place on your body where there's an unobstructed view of blood vessels. Mm. And so a lot of conditions that impact your circulatory system, most people think, well, I'm just going there because I need a new prescription.
Right.
The reality is they can see things that may impact, so diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, even some types of tumors. Wow. Again, things that can manifest themselves through the circulatory system. It's a great early indicator. For us, we partner with eye care professionals to actually get that data back because that's really valuable. The industry in general has really grown up really fragmented and disconnected. So a lot of times that data doesn't go anywhere. For Anthem, what we can do is we can use that. It becomes part of somebody's healthcare record. For example, if they see indications of diabetes, we have tools that then we can do outreach to that member to say, how can we support you on your journey to take care of diabetes? Another example, that's kind of getting information from an eye care professional. Mm-hmm. the other thing that we did is basic as this is, we really asked providers or eye care professionals, how can we help you deliver better care for our members? And the number one thing they came back with was, how can you help us better understand the health conditions of the person walking into our office? And, for us, we've got a large medical book of business as well. That's something that's pretty easy for us to do. And so what we do is, it's kind of grown up, and we joke around, but it's called the big orange button. And so literally, eye care professional offices, when they go and look up benefits and eligibility, they click that button, and they're getting diagnosis information, prescription drug information, lab results that may have an impact on your eyesight. And why people don't necessarily understand the connection or why this is important is that, when we went back and looked, 22 out of the top 25 most commonly prescribed drugs can have an impact on your vision.
Oh, really? Wow.
So light sensitivity, blurry vision, double vision. And so the reason that somebody may be presenting into that eye care professional's office could be because of the medication they're taking. And unless, with us sharing that information, it's not something that people intuitively think about.
Right.
Or they may have filled out, I always joke around whenever I go to a new doctor's office, there's the sheet of paper that's been photocopied for 7 years. It's a little crooked. But I don't keep that up to date necessarily, and I don't always think, because I don't even make the connection that, the pill I'm putting in my mouth could be impacting my eyesight. So, there's examples across a lot of products. Some of those things, may have a real visible patient impact, and some things may happen and they actually don't know they're happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting because, I think you could argue most people are a little more comfortable going into thinking they're getting a new pair of glasses than
advantage of those opportunities. We're kind of missing out on the bigger piece of what's going on with that individual. And it's actually a really good opportunity as we continue to partner with doctors, dentists, eye care professionals. They're a really trusted resource. They can actually help communicate back to members. And as they start to become more, we really want kind of an integrated health team in partnership with providers. They can help influence behavior to ultimately get better health outcomes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way this would work is, let's say I go in for an eye appointment and they see something in my eyes that indicates, I'm at risk for diabetes.
Sure.
It gets put into a system
Yep.
that's sent to you guys, and you guys then contact the patient, or
so a few different things. So we get we get more than 1 billion claims a year on our population of members, spanning all products. And when you include medical, pharmacy, dental, vision, behavioral health. So all of that data basically gets aggregated, and then we basically run analytics daily, weekly, monthly, and against evidence-based guidelines. And so we're looking for things, for example, in this case, if it was a newly identified diabetic, then that can be a trigger into our care management program. And so we can have nurses that would reach out to that individual. We would note that for the primary care physician, because again, they may or may not be aware, because they may not have seen their primary care physician in years. And then we'll also monitor to make sure, now that they're an identified diabetic, are they getting regular eye care, as an example, or dental care? Because again, the connection holistically, again, people don't always understand, but there's a lot of connections that those things really, if you can manage the whole, you'll get a better health outcome.
And I imagine, so it's advantageous in a couple ways, because you're catching these things early, which means the patient's going to be better off. But then also for you guys, you can treat it in a way that's just generally less costly, I would imagine.
Yeah, for us, it goes back to, the more preventive care you can do, the more you can catch conditions early, the more you have an opportunity to hedge those things before they become even more critical.
Do you guys try to incentivize that preventative care, and how does that work?
Yeah, we do. So we have a number of different programs. A lot of times we're selling plans through an employer. So we'll work collaboratively with an employer to figure out what are their objectives for their population, for their employee population. And, we have incentive programs based on what they're trying to achieve. So some folks may be trying to motivate or incent flu shots, as an example, or smoking cessation. Those are some of the more popular programs.
Right.
And so, we'll support them in that with programs.
That all makes sense. Which doctors, are most likely to catch conditions early? So you mentioned optometrists, but who else do people tend to see that might be able to catch some things?
Yeah, so interesting. So, we see really good information coming from optometrists. What I don't want to mislead is we've taken some really good steps, but I still feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think even with optometrists or ophthalmologists, as an example, we can get even more data as they start to understand, because historically they've not all, some of them have thought, I'm in the business for checking 20/20 vision
Right.
and dispensing glasses or contacts. So I think as we continue that partnership, we'll get even more information from optometrists. Disability claims, as we get disability claims in, that's another good source for identifying and being able to engage somebody early. So just as an example, somebody who's pregnant and maybe they go out because they have to go out on bed rest. So if they're working, we're going to get a disability claim because they want their income reimbursement. But
Right.
But from a health perspective, on the medical side, we may not even know that that person is pregnant yet because they haven't delivered a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, we can see the disability claim come in. We can identify, wait a minute, this is an early, somebody who's going out early. We can get them into what we call our Future Moms program. So we can effectively refer, and they do a great job working with folks that have higher risk pregnancies and engaging with members. So it's just another example. Where we can, by getting that intervention, we can get a better outcome for the patient, the member.
One thing we were talking about before the show is a lot of times people sort of don't trust the insurance providers, but you guys, we kind of talked about how there's incentive for you guys to help people. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So from our perspective, our long-term incentives are aligned. We want folks to be healthier. Folks that are healthier, they're more productive, and they have lower long-term healthcare costs. And so I think from that perspective, we certainly have aligned objectives. But we also recognize as an industry that the insurance company may not be the most trusted advisor. People tend to view their doctor as that's a trusted advisor, and the reality is we work every single day. That's why we're in business, to earn that trust,
right.
and to present and make sure that we're offering products, services that ultimately people value, and we're seeing that movement up because again we have long-term aligned incentives.
Mm-hmm. When did this idea of integration begin?
It's something. So I've been, I guess what we call specialty, so dental, vision, life, and disability. I've been in that line of our business for about 13 years.
Oh, wow.
And I will say probably, 8 to 10 years ago, there was a lot of talk, people recognizing that your eyes and your teeth and they do impact your overall health, and we should be looking at it holistically. So there was a lot of chatter from an industry perspective, but when you looked around and said, that makes sense, what are people actually doing about it? The way the industry's grown up is you've got companies that have single line products. So they might do dental insurance only, or they might do vision insurance. And, from our perspective, we want to do that, but we're a healthcare company. And so we want to make those connections. I'd say probably in the last 5 or 6 years, we've made the transition from interesting concept to what are we going to do about it? How can we contribute to progress? And this might seem silly. I'm so excited about healthcare. I never would have thought I would say that, but if I think about the next 18 months, the next 24 months, the next 3-year horizon, the reality is technology, data, and our ability as an industry to apply that to truly drive behavior change and get better health outcomes. To me, it's, we're pretty darn close to a pretty step change to just the way that we've operated. To what we can ultimately do in the industry.
Yeah, it's almost like how we've watched our cell phones progress, where we used to have like 10 years ago these big bricks, and now it's like this little supercomputer.
Yeah, so this came out roughly 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And at the time when people asked, do you need a device that's your, people had MP3 players and, Garmin navigation and cameras and their their address book and all of those things. And when people asked, hey, how would you like a device? People actually didn't really even know how to react. So I don't know if I need that because I've never had it before.
Right.
And, the reality is, fast forward 10 years, I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but when you leave your house and you start doing the check, wait a minute, where's my phone? And and that emotional connection, and then I start negotiating with myself, wait, I'm going to be away for 20 minutes. Can I survive for 20 minutes, or do I need to turn around? So it went from a device that we didn't know we needed to something that's it's just part of our life now.
Yeah.
And I think healthcare, from a lot of ways, if I think about the evolution, it just took basic things that we use every day and packaged them together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and that's what we're trying to do with integration. Take
Right.
products and services that people are already using and package them together. And then, as this has evolved, it's the way that it uses data. So now when I take a picture, it knows where I was and tags everything. And address book, I can click somebody's name and it'll map me automatically to where they're at and tell me how long it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's to me the evolution that we're on from a healthcare perspective, being able to take data from a lot of different sources, apply technology, and start to do really cool things, some of which we can't even imagine probably at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of smartphones, how are you trying to reach out to patients or get in touch with them via smartphone? Because you would mention that before you would send letters or make phone calls, but that a lot of times that's easy to ignore.
Right. Yeah. Just again, as an industry, the way that we would communicate was phone call and mail, and I'm sure I'm a data point of one, but I suspect others are like this too. I mean, people just don't pay attention to mail.
Mm-hmm.
People are busy, and even having a home phone these days, not everybody has a home phone. So, to me, part of that step change that we're encountering from a healthcare perspective is everyone, for the most part, has one of these devices.
Yeah.
And once, as we start to communicate in a much richer way with folks on a two-way basis, again, this will be one of the things that helps drive behavior change. So as we look at this, we think this is a critical part of how we communicate with members going forward. And so we've got a lot of investment in tools like this and just that rich dialogue with members, rather than just, a mailer that may go out, 2 months after, an event that may have triggered that mailer in the first place.
Right. How could you see the smartphone being important in, say, 5 or 10 years? Like, where do you see that going? How important that is for healthcare and what you guys do?
Like I said, I think from a communication vehicle, from and this is obviously with member opting in and seeing the value, but being able to track. I mean, you think about some of the the Fitbit trackers and things like that. It starts to give you real-time feedback on where you're at in your journey.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, to get true behavior change, somebody has to be listening. They have to be capable of understanding where am I realistically from a healthcare perspective, because sometimes people don't. They may think they're doing better than they really are. They have to be open to want to change, and then they have to understand what tools are there to support them. And so I think, again, our ability to connect with a member, understand where they're at in that journey, and then provide them tools, it's a great tool for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like if a doctor asks you, are you active? You probably say, yeah, I think I'm active. But if you have that number on your cell phone that says you walk, 2,000 steps a day, you go, yeah, I don't know if our definitions of activity are the same.
My typical annual physical experience.
Yeah.
So I go in there and we have the same dialogue every year. So I'm a little bit older, a little bit heavier. My cholesterol's gone up a little bit more. And, the feedback is watch your diet and exercise more. And, we have this kind of awkward, uncomfortable silence for about 5 seconds afterwards. And I said, yes, I'll do that. And then we go on. But this will be a much richer medium to track and understand. And again, most importantly, provide tools to help somebody on that journey that want to make a change.
Yeah, and I think it can almost, not only is it a reminder when it's on your wrist or in your pocket all the time, but it's also, there's some incentive. It's almost like you can gamify these things and driving people to,
absolutely.
If you're supposed to get 10,000 steps a day and you see you only have 7, you might be like, yeah, let's take the dog for a walk or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to me, that's how all these things start to come together is really, that's what gets me excited about healthcare.
Is the industry as a whole starting to adopt this idea of integration? Or
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think just, by nature, certain companies are probably positioned a little different just because, I think for Anthem, I mean, we tend to manage the whole because we're offering medical, dental, vision. I mean, we have a broad portfolio. So I think certain companies are probably better positioned, but I think everybody recognizes, I mean, clearly there's a lot of research out there that shows the correlation. I mean, a product that we haven't really talked about, but is dental. And, again, what I would have known about dental 10 years ago is I need to go every 6 months to the dentist and get my teeth cleaned and do the little dance about did you floss or not.
Yeah. Question if you're going to lie or not.
Right. But I think what, a lot of the research and what we're finding today, and not to get too graphic, but at the end of the day, if you're not taking care of your mouth, you effectively have bacteria and inflammation.
Right.
And this is where as an industry, we've not done a service to this holistic thinking and it doesn't just stay in your mouth. Our body's a system, just like the healthcare system.
Right.
And so if you're diabetic, if you have any other chronic condition and you're fighting infection that doesn't stay just in your mouth, you're complicating everything. And so it just gives us the opportunity, again, when we identify high-risk individuals, it seems silly because people don't always make the connection, but we will start monitoring, are they getting their teeth cleaned on a regular basis? And if they're not, we will start messaging to them. And again, it's little things like that, again, I don't know that there's any one silver bullet, but when everything kind of works in harmony, and everybody's getting kind of a consistent message from a lot of different fronts, that's the best scenario to drive change.
Yeah, you mentioned an interesting word, silver bullet. It's like everyone with their health kind of wants to do just one thing that's going to fix all their problems. Maybe it's like a certain diet or a workout or whatever, some pill, but it really is like, biology is very complex and it's a lot of little things as what you see works. So how do you guys measure the success of this program?
Yeah, so good question. And this is where, again, I would be very transparent. I mean, I think this is a long-term journey that we're on. And so some of the things that we look at now, we look at activity. So as an example, we've identified 24,000 diabetics through eye exams last year. So we're looking at it from an activity perspective, or we've monitored and engaged X number of individuals that are not getting regular dental cleanings. Where we want to take it long term and where we think has the most value is looking at that over a period of time. Can you demonstrate that, there's evidence out there in the industry that would say if you identify a diabetic and you manage them early, it'll save you $10,000. That's great. We believe it directionally. Yeah. But long term, we'd like to do our own studies that help reinforce. And so we can also go in and talk to employers and say, hey, here's 5 things you can do, and here's what we would expect that to be, how more productive your employees will be, because that's really important. Right. Company. Yep. And so for us not to use data we already have to do good, I mean, that to me, that is what we do. And so we've made the investments to do that. There's no separate, what we call Anthem Whole Health Connection, which is how we connect all the dots. We don't charge for that. That's just part of the products and services we provide. A lot of times we get asked about the ROI question and, hey, what's the return on investment? And I kind of go back to the same thing and just say, I'm pretty good at math, but I can't calculate a return when we don't actually charge. There is no investment we're asking you to make here. So, but yeah, I mean, we just view that, again, as a healthcare organization, our mission is to make sure that we have healthy members. And to move in that direction. So it's just part of who we are and what we do.
What's been the response of your members to the program, specifically maybe older ones that haven't sort of seen this type of thinking?
I'll use one example. So we had a mother who took her child into the eye care professional, and he actually had a lot of issues early on. He'd actually had heart surgery, and he was on probably, I want to say 6 to 7 different medications. And during the course of the exam, the eye care professional noticed that he had a lot of pressure in his eye, which, can cause, damage long term. Right. And so, he was able to look up what prescriptions, because, the mother really good, but again, there's just so many different medications and knowing what are they on and what's the dosage. The eye care professional can actually look at that, identify, hey, this is, this particular drug is probably impacting, actually called the primary care physician and some of the other healthcare providers and said, hey, is there an alternative? And so that was a thrilled member. I mean, we've got a testimonial from her, and again, it was just, it was a pleasant surprise.
Yep.
That's an example of where how the healthcare system should work.
Right.
That we actually share data and talk to each other to improve health. And so, I think it's been very positive.
Mm-hmm. It kind of seems like there's just going to be this march over time where you have younger doctors that are more data savvy, and it's just kind of like technology advances.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you think about population health management and big data, there is a massive opportunity in healthcare to do something that really matters, to do things that are kind of unimaginable today. Just to give you, this is just my view, but we take a lot of what I would call structured data. So we have claims data, but if you look at all of the other things that go into somebody's health or can be an indicator of somebody's health, there's a lot of unstructured data out there.
Right.
And, I think over time, being able to incorporate all of that together, to me, there's a fascinating data science, population, big data kind of concept that, if there's anybody who's interested getting into that profession, healthcare is a great one because you can actually do something that really matters.
Yeah.
And it will change the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is interesting because you see some of those companies that maybe we can consider a little, quote unquote, sexier, like Apple sort of getting into tracking health with the study they've started. And, you might see companies like even Tesla or someone start getting into like health products. And
I think kind of the marriage of the unstructured data and then the structured data and what, because of Anthem and our size and our breadth of product, we see a lot of interactions in the healthcare system, and just because healthcare is so fragmented, and I tend to travel a lot for my role, and I may be traveling, and I've got to go to an urgent care facility, and pick your state. Again, that's not that data. My primary care physician probably has no idea. Nobody kind of connects the dots, and I think that's we're in a great position to do that.
Yeah. How else have you seen healthcare change in the time that you've been in the industry?
I think, I guess I would say 10 years ago, it was about the benefits, meaning it was about what's the product design of a medical product or a dental product, and what's the network. And those things are all really important. But I think what we're seeing is the benefits are important, but it's also how the pieces come together, and how do we connect back to a member? How do we connect the data on the back end? To me, that's been the biggest change. It's just this philosophy in an industry that's been completely fragmented, and viewing that, hey, we're in the insurance business, and really that transition from insurance to population health management, actually moving towards getting better health.
Yeah. That's interesting. So for the average person, what sort of things do you think they're leaving on the table when it comes to health insurance? Like, what are the biggest things that you see people just don't use that are really cool?
I would say, I guess really cool is a relative word. I guess I do think, I don't think people realize, and again, to me, the journey that we're on is the right one.
Yeah.
So I'm not claiming success or victory by any sense of the imagination, but I do think kind of the mobile tools that some of the larger players are introducing, to me, there's probably resources there that people don't, fully realize are there. And I think over time, I use a great example of, hey, if I'm traveling and, I sat on my glasses on the airplane, I can pull out my phone and, hey, how can I get another pair of glasses? Who are the closest 5 providers, and who can get me glasses in an hour?
That's cool.
There's resources there that help. I think just a lot taking advantage of the preventive care. I think for all of us, we're really busy. We tend to think we're invincible, and so I think just going back to the basics around and candidly looking at Anthem or other insurance companies as a resource. There's benefits there, and we have tools and programs that, depending on what you're trying to achieve, generally we can help in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jeff, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Sure. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy Chinese New Year, Gong Hei Fat Choi.
He's Commissioner Justin Jones, and coming up on our next In Your Neighborhood, we're here at the Las Vegas Chinatown Plaza talking District F issues, Chinatown issues, and county issues.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Our community, our home, Clark County, Nevada.
The University of Nevada, Las Vegas has a long tradition of nurturing local talent, people whose contributions have made it possible for our thriving community to exist and evolve. Few have made as unique a mark on the culture and commerce of Las Vegas as Lonnie Wright.
He's a gentle giant, but when he comes in a room, it shifts. I always believed he should have ran for politics.
He was a brilliant student. We could talk from now till doomsday, and I couldn't finish all the reasons I admire Lonnie.
From the glories of the basketball court to a lifelong career in hospitality and gaming, Lonnie Wright has made his life a testimony of the power of dedication and, most of all, teamwork.
Lonnie was a trendsetter. Lonnie always thought outside the box. And I think more than anything else, because of his personality, he was such a networker, but always with a cause.
He had a vision at an early age. And, some of us thought he was crazy, but he saw things way ahead of us.
But his story doesn't begin in Las Vegas. In the 1940s, Lonnie Wright's maternal grandparents left their native Pine Bluff, Arkansas, for job opportunities in southern Nevada, bringing his mother, Bobby, with them.
Right after the war, a lot of blacks migrated here to Las Vegas, and it was the only state and the only city that, besides Reno later, to have gaming. So it grew.
In high school, Lonnie Wright excelled at both football and basketball, graduating from Western High, class of 1970.
I probably was a better football player. I was a split end, and it was more of a challenge to play basketball than it was to play football.
His athletic prowess eventually earned him a scholarship to play college basketball in the early 1970s under UNLV legacy builder Jerry Tarkanian.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to play. I was recruited by Rolling Tide. He went and signed a contract to be the coach for the Portland Trail Blazers. And then I had to make John Bayer's team, and then I had to make Tark's team because I didn't want to lose my scholarship. I really put emphasis on being a student athlete. And not only did I get my undergrad, but I got my master's and my doctorate from UNLV. So education has been a real core value within the Wright family.
After coming halfway across the country, when she was just a child herself, raising her sons as a single mother, Mrs. Bobby Wright.
Well, my mother gave birth to me when she was 15. So she was a child having a child. But my mother never stopped going to school to get educated. She was always preaching education to us. The reason why I graduated on time was that I took college courses before I became a freshman. I took college courses under the auspices of the Upward Bound program. And so I had 18 credits to the good before I became a freshman. I just knew I was going to graduate.
After his college graduation in 1975, Lonnie was keen to take advantage of the opportunities he had. As the city of Las Vegas emerged from years of social and economic segregation, he would become the only African-American dealer at Binion's Horseshoe downtown at the tender age of 22.
He was one of the guys that would tell other athletes, basketball players in particular, listen, when you come to Las Vegas, there's opportunity here. You can leverage that. Your playing days can be leveraged into something that when you graduate, there will always be something here for you. And he was proof of it in many different ways.
Back in the early 70s and before, student athletes only had 4 years to graduate on a 4-year scholarship. I just saw a lot of my colleagues, the guys that were on scholarship at that time, I saw them putting all their eggs in one basket, and that is they wanted to play pro. And if they did not play pro, they ended up in their prospective ghettos, never to be heard from again. So I started that organization to go and give these guys a second and third chance to graduate, to take advantage of that golden opportunity of getting a college degree.
But as Las Vegas was changing rapidly, and thanks to his understanding of teamwork, communications, and mutual respect, he was able to become one of the city's top educators in the hospitality industry.
The school that he operates right now, called Hospitality International Training, or HIT, we place probably over 80% of our students. We also go into places where people are incarcerated and teach them skills for when they get out, to give them an opportunity to have a job and work.
In the summers of 1988 and 1989, Caesar's Palace sponsored the UNLV alumni on tours of the Far East.
Caesar's Palace Far East Marketing Department sent Lonnie Wright as a special envoy to Asia.
I was asked by Caesar's Palace to develop a team and coach that team and to travel in the Far East. We did that for 3 years running. Well, I never lost a game as a coach because I had all the horses.
Eventually recruited by the Kang One Land Project, Lonnie Wright would train management for what would be the first casino built domestically in South Korea.
The American College of Singapore saw that I had an undergraduate degree in hotel management, and I had a master's in post-secondary, secondary ed. The president of that school got in contact with me and asked me if I would be interested in helping him formulate a hospitality school at the American College of Singapore, and I said yes.
Back home, now Dr. Lonnie Wright had become an adjunct professor in hotel administration at his alma mater. Education, his one enduring passion, continued to dominate his work at home. But he always strived to balance his career with the tireless task of giving back to the community.
Back at CSN, I started a homeless program. You know, most academics don't think about the homeless. I started a homeless program with the Salvation Army that is still going now. Always, want to give back.
Philanthropy and community support were one part of Professor Wright's mission and ultimately his ministry.
The history and the knowledge that he has educationally, but the experience that he has.
I mean, if you step back and look at a lot of things that he's done in his lifetime, you could label him a great black man.
And he shall be like a tree, planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
I tell a lot of young kids that if you just take 1/8 of the energy that it takes to run up and down the floor, you undoubtedly would graduate, be an A student, AB student without a problem. And it's just channeling that focus and that energy into academics.
The legacy of Professor Wright's decades of service to the Las Vegas community has left an indelible imprint on the history of his hometown. And as an African-American businessman, a proud alumni of UNLV, a man of faith, and ultimately a proud son of Las Vegas.
Get your hot dogs and cold drinks and skull cards right over here, folks.
Why has baseball declined in the African American neighborhood? Wow. It's ironic you asked me that. I was working with Thomas Golson, he was the deputy director of Las Vegas Housing Authority, and we had this conversation with Ricky Towers, along with some more people in the community. And we wanted to get baseball back in the community. I'm one of those kids that benefited when we had baseball in the community. I played for the Las Vegas Rams. We had the Astros, the Bicentennial A's. We had all that. But our kids been watching TV. They like football. They like basketball. You know, their attention span wasn't really great for baseball. But we was trying to incorporate it back. We ran into a lot of political stuff with the grown-ups, not even the kids, the grown-ups. But the way I grew up, with all the people from the South, we would say they play that ball. And young people now would think they're talking about football or basketball. But our older generation, when they say that ball, they talking about that baseball. And I looked at baseball as a way of bringing the generations back together, the seniors and the kids. Because see, I look at it like this. If we get our seniors back involved with our kids, they're going to pull their own pants up, out of respect. I ain't got to tell you, put your pants up. So we need that ball, not just because of the history and the value of baseball. That was our first sport as our people, as black people. We need that back so we can bring the families back, because all of the family came out to watch that baseball. So I really want to see it back, and I know we've made that attempt. I know it's not a lot of fields, and I know it's not a big interest for it. But if the kids do the numbers and do the math, that's the sport to pick.
Well, and you know too, Beetle, that with the interest of Monet Davis and the Jackie Robinson League,
out of Chicago.
Yeah. I think it's going to revive itself back in the African American community.
Yes, well, when you start talking about Monet and you talking about Chicago and you talking about the World Little League and all that, and the oh man, not only just for baseball, for women. You got to think about women, and not only. This young lady is an excellent speaker, motivating. We got the right components. We got to tap into them and bring it back. I just think baseball is going to be part of the solution of bringing the families back together. I mean, our old people go to the hospital now and they don't come home. Back in the day, Grandma went to the hospital and she come home like 15 times. Now they go, they don't come home. I think baseball will help that.
She'll say, "Come on, son, let's watch the Dodgers."
Yes, watch the Dodgers. Let's play that ball. Let's do that ball. They love that ball. Because, I did a little history. I don't know if you remember the Harlem Globetrotters. Goose. You know, he was there with Metal Lock Lemon, and Marcus Hayes actually used to work at Doolittle. And it's their 90th anniversary. But Goose, they did the same thing with the Harlem Globetrotters on the baseball field. You know, that's just a little history. And that's one of the things that we got to keep pumping back in our community as our history.
Highly regarded and inspirational, Jimmy Gay was a pioneering trailblazer whose life work made a difference to those around him. Talented in the classroom, on stage, and on the sports field, he gained a science degree, honorary doctorates in humanities, and became a world-class sprinter. He was also the first African-American certified by the Red Cross as a water safety instructor.
And he came into the place one day and he said, hey, let's go to Las Vegas, just like that. I said, what? You really mean that? He said, yes, let's go to Las Vegas. So they tell me they need them bombers out there. And I said, okay, just like that. And I guess 2 or 3 weeks later, he mentioned it again. So I said, okay, if you want to, that's okay with me.
In 1946, Jimmy moved to Las Vegas from Fordyce, Arkansas, where he became the first black licensed mortician in Nevada. Chosen in 1950 as director of the newly opened Jefferson Recreation Center in West Las Vegas, he used his wealth of skills to produce popular shows, organize concerts, visiting speakers, children's activities, and serve on the school board.
Obviously, I remember Jimmy Gay being at the Jefferson Center a lot because he coached a lot of the boys and had baseball and basketball teams, if I'm accurate.
A great family man, he also raised 5 children with his wife Hazel Gloucester. He established Negro History Week for the first time in Nevada and coached football, swimming, and basketball. Jimmy was the first African-American man elected to the Nevada Athletic Commission. In 1952, Jimmy was appointed Director of Communications at the Sands, one of the foremost hotel casinos, and became the first black hotel executive in Las Vegas. With leading showbiz friends and with further executive roles at the Union Plaza, Fremont, Aladdin, and Silverbird hotels, Jimmy was able to use his contacts and influence to really challenge discrimination, and he played a vital part in helping desegregate the Strip. He served 21 years on the board of the Culinary Union, fighting for equal rights and justice for all Nevada workers. Honored many times as NAACP Man of the Year and as JC's Man of the Year in 1952, with the City of Hope commendation in 1959, Jimmy was further honored by the state when a park was named after him in 1985. And with the most prestigious award conferred by the Board of Regents, he became a Distinguished Nevadan in 1988. Segregated black residential areas of 1940s Las Vegas were tumbled down, overcrowded, and unsanitary. They lacked any of the amenities enjoyed in the more glamorous and affluent areas of the city. Mrs. Florence Elmore moved to the area from Illinois during this time. She opened the first black licensed beauty shop in Las Vegas. Florence soon became a leading light on the West Side. Believing passionately in community, education, and civic improvement, she worked tirelessly to help advance her neighborhood.
Why don't you know more about Florence Elmore today? Her family was very small, and when she passed away, shortly afterwards, her sister passed away, and her niece was the only living relative, to my knowledge, lived out of state for several decades. And I think when that bloodline disappears, then you don't really have anyone to carry on that legacy. And another thing is, Stan, a lot of the people that are in our city today have moved here within the last 25, 30, or maybe even 40 years. And they wouldn't have had an opportunity to meet a Florence Elmore like I knew Florence Elmore. I have very vivid memories of her being a very statuous, kind, gentle person, and being always involved.
She was the assistant director of the Jefferson Center, an important social venue in post-World War II, 1940s and 50s West Las Vegas. Young people, such as scout groups, teenagers clubs, schools, and even the black church, would all meet at the Jefferson Center. They would watch movies, have a meal at the cafe, or celebrate important events such as graduation days.
Well, the Jefferson Center was a recreation area that all of us kids could go and take swimming lessons, play games, and I know a lot of the boys went there because they were able to play basketball and actually play sports. So I do remember all of that, and I remember having taken swimming lessons at the Jefferson Center, 25 cents. I'd save half my lunch money, so I'd have my 25 cents every weekend to go up and take my swimming lessons.
Florence spoke regularly on the radio and wrote in local newspapers about current events and news. She encouraged sportsmanship in young athletes. She highlighted new musicians, concerts, visiting speakers, and organized successful charity events. She cultivated a working relationship with then-presidential hopeful Cork Bryant. He presented the center with donations and helped auction off signed celebrity memorabilia to raise money for local disabled children. Florence Elmore acted as a mother figure for young men newly arrived from the South and stationed at Nellis Air Force Base. They would be invited to the West Side as Airmen of the Week. They would be shown the sights, made to feel special, and given a treat of real Southern hospitality at Big Jim Tatum's barbecue. Florence started a beauty pageant in 1950, Miss Bronze Las Vegas. It helped build links with the greater Las Vegas community. This helped bring in attention and support from downtown businesses and clubs.
She was one of the first female entrepreneurs in our community, having owned a beauty salon at one point and having owned a couple restaurants and really creating an environment for younger women. So I think of someone that had a very creative mind that was probably years before her time.
Mrs. Elmore's strength of character, energy, and sincerity won her the respect and confidence of a community. They supported her nomination for office in the primary election. Miss Florence Elmore was the first African American so honored in the history of the state of Nevada. Florence's work helped build pride and unity on the West Side. Her practical encouragement and celebrations of achievements drove civic improvement. Florence said the struggle for a better living on the West Side would be a hard one, but her pretty good sense of what needed to be done was a good qualification for public work. And so it was. Her community named her Woman of the Year. When Florence Elmore transitioned from this life in the early 1980s, she was survived by a loving niece, a grateful community, and a host of West Las Vegas luminaries.
When I think of the Ruby Duncans, the Sarah Knight Pretties, I think of Mrs. Elmore, Florence Elmore, because she was a trendsetter. A lot of us stepped out on faith because we saw women before us being accepted in certain arenas, and it gave us the inspiration to feel that if they can do it, I can too. But unless someone's willing to step out and make the first step, then the ones that follow them aren't as eager to take a risk.
I am for the child who has been abused, the child who is afraid to go home,
who thinks it's her fault, who is forced to keep a secret or else.
I am for the child who has been neglected,
the child who does not know where his next meal is coming from,
who must fend for herself and her little sister.
Alone.
The child who has never been to a doctor or a dentist.
I am for the child who was taken away
for her own protection.
The child who is now in foster care, who does not know how long he'll be there.
Or who these people are. Or if she should trust them. I am for her.
The child who is in his third,
fourth, fifth,
sixth foster home this year.
The child who has attended 4 schools in 2 years.
Who sits in back of yet another class surrounded by strangers.
Believing in his heart that no one
cares. I'm for her. The child who has never been told
that he is loved.
That she is smart, beautiful,
talented,
worthy. That she is strong,
courageous.
That she is somebody. I am for her.
The child who one day will turn 18 and will be surrendered to the world.
I am for that child.
So I am there for that child.
To listen to her.
To speak for her.
To champion without compromise for what's in his best interest.
Because if I
am there for her, I know she will be half as likely to languish in foster care. And that much more likely to find a safe, permanent home.
She is the child I am for.
He is the child I am for.
They are the children I am for. She is the child I am for.
The child I am for is him.
Who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I?
I'm a CASA volunteer.
I am you.
You're watching Clark County Television, our community, our home, Clark County, Nevada.
Hello, I'm Randy Swallow. Welcome to In Your Neighborhood. For the next half hour, we'll talk county issues and District F issues with a man who represents the area, your Commissioner, Justin Jones. Good morning, Commissioner.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Excellent. We're here at the Chinatown Plaza on Spring Mountain Road in District F. District F is one of the largest commission districts, stretching from the central part of the valley west to Red Rock and Blue Diamond. Other rural communities in District F include Sandy Valley, Good Springs, and Jean. Here's a quick look in your neighborhood, District F. District F is home to the newest downtown in Clark County, downtown Summerlin. The county's largest master plan community has developed a couple million square feet for dining, shopping, entertainment, and more in a mixed-use, fully walkable marketplace. Other major game-changing private businesses choosing to slide into District F include the swimmingly successful Wet n Wild Water Park. And expect furniture fans to flock to the iconic blue and yellow behemoth IKEA store near the 215 Beltway in Durango, a Swedish-designed retailer that is the world's largest. And another master-planned neighborhood, Mountain's Edge, continues to rise in District F. Thousands of residents now enjoy recreating at Phase 1 of the newly opened Mountain's Edge Regional Park, with some of the coolest facilities in town. Desert Breeze Regional Park continues to be one of the best, with an indoor-outdoor aquatic center and hundreds of acres of green space and more. And the rural portions of District F include Sandy Valley, Blue Diamond, Good Springs, and Jean, lending a slice of the slower lifestyle compared to the fast-paced urban growth for residents and businesses in District F. Commissioner, this is the Las Vegas Chinatown Plaza. This is basically the epicenter of Chinatown. About 25 years this place has been here and part of District F. Why did you bring us out here today for District F?
Well, I think it's an exciting time of year. We're celebrating the Year of the Pig. It's a Chinese New Year, so I figured what better time to be down in Chinatown Plaza than right now.
And again, everyone seems to know this place with the pagodas and roof tiles and everything like that. And what the county has had a good relationship with Chinatown and with the people here in this area.
Well, I think Spring Mountain right now is just booming. You've seen Lotus down the street as the first true residential high-rise development down here in the Spring Mountain corridor. We've worked very closely with the folks here along the Spring Mountain corridor to continue the development down here. It's just hot. This is a place to be right now.
I'm not sure how much you know about this, Commissioner, but the county entered into the Chinatown Overlay District in 2005. So what does that mean to the folks that live here and as well as this district?
Well, look, our Asian American community is vital to the vibrancy of Southern Nevada. And I think this is really a meeting place for the community, but also a place where folks can come and have a great meal, try a new cuisine, and do fun things on the weekend.
It's a little bit different in some ways, as the owners here have been telling us. This is also the Asian Pacific American Cultural Center, so you will see some sorts of businesses that will never be here. And what does that mean as far as, just as far as that goes?
Well, I think it's an opportunity for people in the community to participate in cultural activities. You'll see, obviously, during the month of February, a lot of activities surrounding the Chinese New Year, but there are activities that go on all year long, and it's an opportunity for learning in our community.
We keep saying Chinatown, but obviously the Asian population in our community is burgeoning. In fact, one of three, our ballot is in Tagalog, which appeals to the Filipino community. And how big is our Asian community? How important is it?
Well, I'm fortunate. I have in District F, we have the largest Asian American community in Southern Nevada. And it is critical to our community here to have that kind of diversity. One of the difference between the Asian American community and the Hispanic community is that language is really, I would say, a barrier when first-generation folks come here. And that's why we're trying to do a better job in terms of outreach to make sure that we have resources that are in multiple languages. Obviously, there are a variety of languages in the Asian American community, and making sure we have the resource. One of the things that I wanted to note is we haven't had very good diversity and representation at the elected and appointed level from the Asian American community. So one of the things that I had set out as a goal when I joined the commission was to make sure we had that representation. And so my planning commissioner is Vietnamese, and I have appointed members of the AAPI community to both the Spring Valley and the Enterprise Town Board.
What needs to be done, or what needs to continue to be done in this area to promote good growth?
Well, I think it's making sure that we provide those resources. I know one of the things that Commissioner Segalum and I are going to be working on in the very near future, there was a commission a while back that was sort of the outreach between the county commission and the AAPI community. And so that sort of went by the wayside, and so we're going to try and bring that commission back, make sure that we get that input from the community. And I know one thing that the Asian American community has really been asking for and looking for is a true cultural center where people can come, maybe if they have a language barrier, to learn how they interface with different government agencies. And so we're looking at opportunities to do that here along the Spring Mountain Corridor.
Commissioner, let's shift gears a little bit. I know that the homeless population is obviously always on the burner, and some legislative bills coming on. Sure. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I know you've recently suggested that, of course, the city of Las Vegas and Clark County really needs to roll up their sleeves and work together to combat this problem. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I know historically there's been some personality conflicts between the city and county at times, and I think we need to set that aside. If you're on the streets, you don't really care whether there's a personality conflict between an elected commissioner and an elected city council person. You're just trying to find somewhere to sleep. It was below freezing here yesterday, and I feel for the folks that are out there on the street and don't have a place to stay. And so we need to put those differences aside. We need to make sure that we're working collaboratively towards a solution.
Let's move into some of the legislative things. I know that the city is looking at some of those bills to address that. And what does the county need to do to follow those, or what are we doing to follow those, the bills?
Sure. So Clark County has a team that's up in Carson City right now. They are tracking the bills. We have a few bills of our own that are up at the legislative session that are critical to moving the county forward. But we have folks who are working on our behalf up the legislature to make sure that we're tracking those important issues.
Let's talk specifically about Assembly Bill 79, which will allow us quicker recourse to address abandoned buildings and delinquent property. What does that mean, Commissioner?
Well, I think that we have some areas of town that are a bit dilapidated, and there are some barriers right now to be able to address those issues. And so passing a bill like that will allow us to get in there and make those changes so it's not a blight on the whole community.
One that I was surprised to see that you talked about was Senate Bill 127 that could possibly expand the county commission from 7 people to 9 people. Obviously, that isn't going to happen overnight, but what are your thoughts on that one?
I think that it would have to be a sort of a long-term study. I think that there would be some growing pains. There are only 7 county commission offices in the current building, and so we would have to figure out how that would happen, and we have to see what the real need is. Again, there's this interesting dynamic here in Clark County. In most places, it's an incorporated city that is the sort of the primary interface between people in the community. Here, you have districts like mine that are 95% only in unincorporated areas. And so you can't, if you're in my district, call up a city council person and ask for some constituent services or find out how you deal with stuff. You have to call my office. And so that puts a different burden on districts that are mine that are growing and in unincorporated areas than it does in some of the more the older neighborhoods that are in the incorporated areas.
You're obviously very well versed in what goes on in legislative sessions in Carson City, having spent a winter up there a few years ago. Yep. What can you bring from your days as a state senator to the county commission?
Well, I think it's in every elected body, you have to be able to work with other people. And I'm fortunate that while I was in the legislature, I got to work with half of the county commission. So I got to work with our county commission chair, Marilyn Kirkpatrick, and also with former Senator Dick Segerblum while I was up there. And so bringing that collaboration, working across party lines, working across differences of opinion and geography is critical to the Clark County Commission.
I know later in February, in fact, one of your colleagues, new Commissioner Michael Naft, you and he are having a joint town hall, yep. And of course you have contiguous, despite A&F not being really contiguous, you do have commission districts. Talk a little bit about what you expect to accomplish in that meeting.
Sure, both of us